The screen is pitch black. A low, rhythmic thrumming sound like a heavy industrial heart begins to vibrate, so deep it feels like a physical presence. Slowly, we fade into a sprawling, desolate battlefield at dusk. The wind howls across the cracked earth, kicking up ghosts of dust over abandoned gear and rusted metal. For centuries, warfare followed a simple, brutal arithmetic. More soldiers meant more power. It was a game of masses, of lines of men clashing until one side simply ran out of bodies. But history, and increasingly modern science, have shown us something deeply unsettling. Numbers do not always win. In the age of asymmetry, 1,000 can fall to 1 if that one is built differently. Today on the MegaBrain Show, we are stepping into a scenario that sounds like pure science fiction, yet remains rooted in the shadowy, multi-billion-dollar corners of real-world military research. We are asking a question that challenges the very foundation of infantry doctrine. What would happen if 100 trained human soldiers faced only 10 humanoid combatants? We aren't talking about Hollywood monsters or mindless shuffling zombies. We are talking about humanoid soldiers, being shaped like us, moving like us, but enhanced far beyond our biological limits. They are stronger, they are faster, and they are terrifyingly harder to kill. Would sheer numbers eventually overwhelm them through the weight of lead, or is humanity facing something far more lethal than a small force? Is there a point where quality doesn't just match quantity, but deletes it entirely? Before the first shot is fired in our simulation, we have to define our combatants with clinical precision. When we say humanoid, we aren't talking about magic. We are talking about the logical conclusion of decades of research from agencies like DARPA into the soldier of tomorrow. This means beings with a human-like silhouette to navigate human-built environments, stairs, doorways, vehicles, but with a nervous system and frame that defy nature. We are assuming these 10 combatants possess carbon fiber reinforced skeletal structures and synthetic muscle fibers that don't tear under load. This isn't just about lifting heavy objects, it's about explosive power. Imagine a soldier who can sprint at 40 miles per hour and leap over a standing wall without breaking stride. But the physical is only half the story. The real terror lies in the cognitive. These humanoids are equipped with integrated sensor suites, thermal, LiDAR, and acoustic sensors that feed directly into an augmented consciousness. While a human soldier struggles to see through smoke or the chaos of a night battle, these 10 see the world in high-definition data. They operate with reaction times that sit at the absolute physical threshold of neurology. If you push the physical and mental limits of a soldier to this degree, the traditional military math breaks. The question is no longer about who has more rifles. It's about how many normal men it takes to compensate for one godlike machine or augmented human. On the left side of our battlefield, we have the 100. They represent the peak of conventional infantry, a full company of men and women who are coordinated, communicative, and steeped in centuries of squad tactics. They are not individuals, they are a collective. They bring with them the weight of the U.S. Army Research Institute's findings that morale, leadership, and group cohesion often outweigh individual marksmanship. They have radios, drones, and a chain of command that has been tested in every conflict from the trenches of France to the deserts of the Middle East. They rely on the power of the group to suppress, flank, and destroy. On paper, a 100 to 10 ratio is a slaughter in favor of the many. It is an overwhelming volume of fire that no single entity should be able to survive. But as every veteran knows, war is never fought on paper. Facing them from the ridge are the 10. They stand perfectly still. They don't fidget with their gear. They don't whisper to their neighbors to calm their nerves. They don't check their watches. A faint, high-pitched mechanical hum emanates from their positions, the sound of cooling systems and processors working at a fever pitch. Each one possesses strength 5 times that of the human average. While an elite human athlete might react to a stimulus in 150 milliseconds, these beings operate in the gaps between human thoughts. They don't think about pulling the trigger. The decision and the action are a single, seamless event. In high-speed combat, those saved milliseconds are the difference between life and death. You are looking at 10 fighters who never hesitate, who feel no pain, and who never tire. The transition from peace to violence is instantaneous. Muzzle flashes light up the twilight, like strobe lights in a nightmare. The sound is a deafening, overlapping roar. As the engagement begins, the expected rules of engagement immediately shatter. The 100 human soldiers do what they were trained to do. They lay down a base of fire. They try to suppress. But suppression is a psychological tool. It works because a human being instinctively ducks when lead flies past their head. It works because we fear death. But if these humanoids can calculate the trajectory of incoming fire and close the distance faster than a human can, track them with a barrel, suppression fails. Getty Images. Historically, small shock forces from the Spartan 300 to modern Tier 1 operators have routed much larger armies through speed and confusion, but this is shock action on a cellular level. This is the OODA loop: observe, orient, decide, and act, accelerated to a point where it becomes a weapon itself. The humanoids are completing this cycle so fast that to the human soldiers, they seem to be moving in a blur. They aren't reacting to the humans are reacting to them. And in warfare, the side that is constantly reacting is the side that is losing. The battlefield fragments into a dozen tiny, chaotic pockets, and once coordination is lost, the 100 soldiers are no longer an army. They are just a panicked crowd. As the minutes tick by, the science becomes deeply uncomfortable. Combat is as much a psychological game as it is a physical one. Human soldiers, no matter how well trained, are subject to the fight or flight response. They experience tunnel vision, auditory exclusion, and a massive spike in cortisol that can freeze their decision-making. Research from the Naval Research Laboratory shows that when a soldier sees an enemy advancing through a hail of bullets, ignoring wounds that would drop a normal man, their morale doesn't just dip, it collapses. This is the uncanny valley turned into a tactical nightmare. Seeing something that looks human but moves with a cold, twitchy efficiency of a machine creates an instinctive revulsion. Panic spreads through the ranks faster than any bullet. And once a unit stops believing the enemy can be killed, the battle is already over. However, even these titans are bound by the laws of the universe. Physics is a stubborn, unforgiving opponent. These humanoids are not immortal. Even the most advanced synthetic systems have an energy cost that cannot be ignored. Moving a 300-pound frame at superhuman speeds creates immense internal heat and structural stress. If they are biological, they face hyperthermia. If they are robotic, they face battery depletion and servo failure. Every leap, every sprint, and every blow dealt drains their finite reserves. Without a supply line, without a way to vent that heat or recharge those cells, the humanoids face their own silent enemy: attrition. This is where the 100 regain their footing. Unlike the 10, the humans have redundancy. If a squad leader falls, a corporal steps up. If a rifle jams, another takes its place. The 10 have no reinforcements. No one is coming over the hill to take their place when their joints seize or their power levels hit the red zone. Every scratch on a humanoid is a permanent loss of capability. Once the first humanoid falls, perhaps caught by a lucky grenade or a concentrated burst of heavy machine gun fire, math begins to shift. The 10 become 9. The 9 become 8. If the humans can maintain their discipline, if they can overcome the primal urge to flee and instead use their numbers to create a war of exhaustion, the tide slowly turns. They move from fighting to containing. They trade space for time, forced to watch their numbers dwindle as they bait the humanoids into burning through their energy. Military science tells us that wars aren't decided by who is the strongest in the first 5 minutes, but by who can sustain pressure into the 5th hour. In a short, sharp, close-quarters engagement, the humanoids dominate. They are a scythe through wheat, a terrifying glimpse into a future where the individual is obsolete. But in an extended battle of distance, terrain, and endurance, the humans, through sheer, bloody sacrifice, eventually win the day. They win because they are a forest, while the humanoids are 10 massive, ancient oaks. You can cut down the oaks, but the forest remains. The cost of this victory, however, would be a generation of trauma and a graveyard of 90 soldiers to kill 10. This thought experiment isn't just a what-if for a YouTube video. It's a warning about the coming age of asymmetry. As we move toward a future defined by augmented troops, powered exoskeletons, and autonomous systems, the very definition of a soldier is changing. The battlefield of 2030 and beyond will not be decided by the size of the census, but by the speed of the processor and the durability of the frame. The era of the mass army may be closing, replaced by a terrifying new reality where 10 beings can hold the power of 1,000. That future isn't just coming, it's already at the door. If you found this deep dive into the mechanics of future warfare fascinating, consider subscribing to the Mega Brain Show for more tactical breakdowns. For another look at how technology is rewriting the rules of our world, click the video on your screen now. The future is closer than you think, and it's faster than you can imagine.